You probably already know what you're supposed to do with money. Spend less than you earn. Save consistently. Avoid unnecessary debt. Invest for the future. Stop buying things you don't need. None of this is a secret. And yet millions of intelligent people understand these rules and still feel completely out of control financially. They make a budget, then abandon it. They promise to save, then spend. They earn more but somehow still feel behind. They watch other people getting ahead and quietly wonder if they've already missed their chance. So maybe the real problem isn't that you don't understand money. Maybe it's that money is rarely just about money. It becomes security, status, identity, relief, approval, fear, regret. And once money becomes emotional, knowing what to do and actually doing it become two completely different things. If you want to understand the psychology quietly shaping your decisions, subscribe. That's exactly what we explore here. Now consider something strange. Two people can earn the same amount of money and experience completely different financial lives. One feels relatively secure. The other constantly feels behind. Why? Because your financial life exists in two places. There is the objective world. What you earn, what you own, what you owe, what you spend. And then there is the psychological world. What you believe those numbers say about you. That second world can become incredibly powerful. Imagine receiving a raise. For a few weeks you feel successful. Then you notice someone earning twice as much. Suddenly the same salary that made you proud feels inadequate. Nothing about your financial reality changed. The comparison changed. This is one of the reasons people can become objectively wealthier while psychologically feeling poorer. Your mind doesn't only ask, do I have enough? It asks, do I have as much as them? And today, them can mean thousands of people you encounter every week through a screen. You see the house, the vacation, the car, the restaurant, the promotion, the success story. You see what people purchased. You rarely see what it cost them psychologically or financially. You don't see the debt, the anxiety, the family money, the years of preparation, the lucky timing, the private failures. You see the outcome and compare it with your ordinary Tuesday afternoon. And then something dangerous happens. You stop using money to improve your life. You start using money to change how your life looks. That distinction matters. Because some spending isn't really about the object being purchased. It's about the emotion the object promises. A stressful week ends and you buy something. For a moment you feel better. You feel rewarded. You feel in control. Maybe you feel like the person you want to become. Then the feeling fades. The object remains. And eventually the emotional state returns. This creates a simple psychological loop. Discomfort, purchase, relief, reinforcement. The brain learns that spending can change how you feel. So the next time you're lonely, anxious, bored, insecure, or exhausted, the desire returns. This is why telling someone to just stop spending can be psychologically incomplete. If the purchase has been performing an emotional job, removing the purchase without understanding the job leaves the original need untouched. The same thing happens with status. Ask yourself why you want the things you want, not whether they're good or bad. Why? Would you still want that car if nobody could ever see you driving it? Would you want the same house if nobody knew where you lived? Would you want that promotion if it came with the salary but nobody could know your title? Would you buy the same clothes if every logo disappeared? There is nothing inherently wrong with expensive things. The psychological question is different. Are you buying something because it improves your life, or because you hope it changes your position in somebody else's mind? Because the need to look successful can become one of the most expensive needs a person ever develops. And there is another reason people struggle with money even when they understand it. Immediate relief is more emotionally powerful than distant freedom. Saving money for 10 years is abstract. Buying something tonight is concrete. Financial security in the future is invisible. The pleasure of upgrading your lifestyle today can be felt immediately. So you make the decision your present self wants and send the bill to your future self. Then tomorrow becomes today. And eventually, the future self you kept borrowing from arrives. This is where financial behavior becomes a self-development problem. You don't simply need better information. You need to understand which version of you is making the decision. The calm version who created the plan? Or the stressed version who wants relief? The confident version? Or the insecure version trying to prove something? The long-term version building freedom? Or the impulsive version trying to feel better for 20 minutes? And eventually, repeated financial behavior can become something even more difficult to change. An identity. You stop saying, I made some bad financial decisions. And start saying, I'm bad with money. You stop saying, I haven't started investing yet. And start saying, I'm too late. You stop describing your behavior and begin describing yourself. This matters because behaviors feel changeable. Identities feel permanent. If you believe you are irresponsible with money, every financial mistake becomes evidence. You overspend once. See? That's just who I am. You forget a payment. I knew I'd mess this up. Meanwhile, evidence that contradicts the identity gets ignored. And this creates one of the most painful financial beliefs of all. It's too late for me. Maybe you're 27 and someone else started at 18. Maybe you're 36 and you see people younger than you talking about investments, businesses, and financial independence. Maybe you're 45 or 55 and wonder what would have happened if you had understood all of this 20 years ago. Yes, starting earlier can matter. Time matters. But there is an enormous psychological difference between acknowledging that reality and turning it into a verdict about your future. You cannot start 10 years ago. That option does not exist. Your actual choice is between starting now and starting even later. Regret becomes dangerous when you use yesterday's lost time as permission to waste today. And comparison makes this worse because you usually compare your beginning with someone else's middle. You don't know their starting point. You don't know their advantages. You don't know their mistakes. You don't know what they inherited, who helped them, what risks worked, or what happened behind the scenes. Which means their timeline is almost useless as a measurement of your own worth. Your real competition is much quieter. Are the decisions you're making today giving your future self more options or fewer? That's a better definition of financial progress. And if you've ever felt financially behind, tell me in the comments what creates that feeling most for you. Age, income, debt, comparison, or something else. And if this is helping you see money differently, leave a like. It helps more people find these ideas. So how do you actually change your financial behavior? Start before the purchase. Before opening the shopping app. Before upgrading. Before making the emotional financial decision. Pause and ask, what am I actually trying to buy? Sometimes the answer will simply be the object. Good. But sometimes you're trying to buy relief, status, belonging, confidence, control, a reward after a difficult day, proof that you're doing well. Once you identify the real purchase, the decision becomes clearer. Then ask a second question. Would I still want this if nobody knew I owned it? This separates utility from performance. Then ask, what emotion am I experiencing right now? Never assume that because you can afford something financially, you're choosing it consciously. Anxiety can spend money. Loneliness can spend money. Envy can spend money. Boredom can spend money. Insecurity can spend extraordinary amounts of money. Then expand the time horizon. Instead of asking only, can I afford this today? What does repeatedly making decisions like this cost me over 5 years? One purchase rarely destroys someone's financial future. Patterns do. And patterns work in both directions. Small destructive decisions repeated for years become expensive. Small intelligent decisions repeated for years become powerful. This is why systems matter more than constantly trying to be disciplined. If you want to save, automate it. If certain apps trigger unnecessary spending, remove them. If waiting changes your decisions, create a 24-hour rule before non-essential purchases. If social media constantly makes your life feel inadequate, reduce the source of comparison instead of endlessly fighting the feeling it creates. Design your environment so the better decision requires less psychological effort. Because financial discipline isn't proving every day that you can defeat temptation. It's building a life where temptation gets fewer opportunities to negotiate with you. But there is a deeper question underneath all of this. What do you actually want money to do for you? Many people never answer that. So more becomes the goal. More income. More possessions. More status. More numbers. But more has no finish line. There will always be someone with more. If money is primarily a scoreboard, you can become wealthier and remain psychologically poor because someone else will always have a higher score. A healthier framework is to ask what money can give you that actually matters. Maybe it's security. Maybe it's the ability to leave a job that is destroying you. Maybe it's time with your children. Maybe it's the freedom to say no. Maybe it's the ability to help someone you love. Maybe it's simply waking up without financial panic. Money is extraordinarily useful when it becomes a tool for your values. It becomes psychologically dangerous when it becomes evidence of your value. Those are not the same thing. Your bank account can describe part of your financial situation, cannot describe your worth as a human being. And understanding that changes the game. You stop asking, how do I look successful? And start asking, how do I become more free? You stop asking, am I ahead of them? And start asking, am I making better decisions than I used to? You stop punishing yourself for starting late and begin using the time that still belongs to you. Because the deepest psychology of money isn't really about money. It's about what money activates inside you. Fear, comparison, identity, desire, security, regret, status, freedom. You can understand every financial principle intellectually and still sabotage yourself if you never understand the emotional forces underneath your decisions. So before your next financial decision, create a small space between feeling and action. Ask what you're feeling. Ask what you're really trying to buy. Ask whether the decision serves your life or your image. And ask whether it gives your future self more freedom or less. You don't need to fix your entire financial life today. You need to stop repeating one unconscious pattern at a time. Because once you can see the pattern, you're no longer completely controlled by it. You have a choice. If one part of this video described your relationship with money, tell me which part in the comments. And if you found this useful, leave a like. Then watch the video appearing on your screen now because it goes deeper into the psychological patterns that influence the choices you make without realizing it. The goal isn't simply to have more money. It's to understand yourself well enough that money stops controlling the way you feel, the way you see yourself, and the way you choose your future. And that may be one of the most valuable forms of wealth you can build.